Using your AI tool to help you edit. I'm not talking about Grammarly. That's a tool you can use if you wish. Nor am I saying that you can use an AI tool as a substitute for an editor. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You still need to hire an editor, or at the absolute least, a proofreader. You're going to need a pair of human eyes to look over your stuff, because there are certain things that the AI can't catch. There are certain metaphors or similes or turns of phrase that another human would recognize, but the machine cannot. Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to this week's episode of the Getting the Win Show. I'm your host, Melissa T., the Procrastination Bully. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Our mission with this show is to help women who've navigated a trauma or transition find healing through writing and publishing her first book. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk about a controversial topic, which is books and AI. Okay? This is a hot one. So I'm going to clarify when and where you can use it in your book. And more specifically, I'm going to break down 5 different areas in your book's journey where you can ethically use AI to assist you in crafting and publishing your book. This episode is actually one of 2. I go over a lot in this one, so I'm going to be splitting this up. So stay tuned for next week. Make sure you click that subscribe button at Getting the Win on YouTube and click the bell icon so you get the notification for part 2 of the episode. The other reminder is I do have the author activation weekend coming up in the rolling, beautiful Green Hills of Tennessee, coming up April 23rd to 26th. The 23rd, if you're choosing the VIP ticket. We've only got 2 VIP spots left, so I would encourage you to get those. Go to myauthorweekend.com to find out more. If you are looking for an author sprint, you've had a story within you, or maybe you've even started your book. Maybe you're not starting from scratch, but you started your book and you're itching to finally finish, or you need that push to finally finish. This particular weekend is for you. Go to myauthorweekend.com. Come into the room with us. Let us push you through to the finish line. We'll be running alongside you the whole time. Now let's get to the episode. So, AI and books, right? You've likely seen tons of ads for programs or courses that teach you how to craft a book with AI in seconds, or using someone's tool to create a book in a day. Those things are valid. Those things exist. However, here's one distinction I want to lead out with before I get into any further details. There's a huge difference between AI generated and AI assisted. Bob Cosberg, who is the CEO for Bestseller Publishing, shout out to him. He's someone I'm a student of his game, so to speak. I learned the self-publishing process from all the way back in 2012 from him. And I love what he shared, that difference between AI assisted versus AI generated. And here's why this distinction is important. Business Insider did a full article, full feature into a company called publishing.com. And publishing.com is like the godfather in the self-publishing industry in terms of offering self-publishing services for authors using AI. However, there was a federal investigation into those guys. So here's why. And for those looking to self-publish on Amazon, when you go on their page and you go through the process of uploading your draft, you will see a checkbox that asks you to acknowledge whether or not you have AI generated content in your book. And you do have to disclose that, because when they scrub your manuscript using their bots and their AI and stuff like that, like, they'll be able to catch whether or not you used AI in your stuff. And once they flag you, they not only pull your book, but they could potentially kill your entire Amazon account. Like, that is a thing. Many authors have dealt with that. The reason there was a federal investigation into that particular company is that they were training their respective students and clients into using their AI tool that helps their authors generate books. And then they would just upload them onto Amazon. And Amazon, after a while, they noticed the pattern. After reviewing and scrubbing so many different manuscripts, They were like, okay, we see a pattern we don't like. And so, hence the investigation. So here's the difference between AI generated and AI assisted. AI generated is if you let the AI do all the typing for you. You're essentially letting the AI be your ghostwriter. Like you just having it kick out everything. No tweaks, no nothing, right? It gives you a result. It gives you a manuscript. And maybe you use an AI editor like a Grammarly or something like that. And then you put the book out. All of that stuff's going to look the same, right? The thing about using AI is that you have to tweak it with specific instructions. And the more specific you are with the instructions, the better. It's very important that you make the AI understand who you are, what your voice is, what your tone is, what your brand is, who your target reader is. Like you have to tweak it so it's fully aware of who you're trying to reach. And it has to sound like you. It has to sound like you. And I will show you a little later in the episode how to do that. Now, with AI assisted content, the first bit of good news is Amazon's not going to ask you about that because they don't mind that. They know people are going to use AI tools in order to save time. That's what AI is for. So Amazon doesn't mind that. They care about AI generated content. If you're just copy pasting what the AI spit out and you're putting it in the book and publishing it, that's AI generated. AI assisted is if you use what I was saying, which is tweaking your prompts and going back and forth with your AI tool to get the information that you're looking for, customizing the information that you receive from it, rehumanizing it so it sounds more like you. That's AI assisted. Using the AI to do research for you. That's AI assisted, and that's fine. Amazon has no problem with that. Other platforms have no problems with that. Okay. And there are AI tools out there that you can use that don't just kick out the book for you and then you just put it out. There are some self-publishing services that are created by other authors. In most cases, they're created by other authors that create AI tools that do just that. They assist. They're not meant for you to simply copy paste, because the hazard with copy pasting straight up AI manuscripts is that we have to remember that AI is sourcing from already existing material, which can tick off some best-selling authors who've had their work copied. A great example of this is New York Times bestselling author Lobby Ajayi. I follow her on LinkedIn, and she recently, as of 2 weeks ago before this recording, she actually put a post up there saying like she understands the frustration with the use of AI in books and AI being detected in books because some of her stuff was being quoted in other books or being used in other books as original material. In other words, AI plagiarism. Since her books were used to train the AI to begin with, and it's not just her, it's many other authors, their original IP was used to train many of these long language models to then generate content that you ask it to kick out. This is why it's important for you to review what the AI tool spits out after you ask it something. You have to make it sound more like you. Okay. So, as I promised at the beginning, I got 5 on it. Okay. There are 5 areas in your book's journey where you can have AI assist you in crafting the creation of your book. So let's get into them. And the first step is the foundation step. I'm walking you through my framework. Now, what's involved in the foundation step is essentially your market research. So this is your target reader, the people you want to reach, your book's topic and genre in the first place. Like, what are you writing your book about? If you need to ideate what you're writing your book about, and then researching the market for what readers want, because that's the other thing. Dr. Myron Golden, says it perfectly. Like, it's one thing to put out something you want to put out in the market, but it's way easier and more beneficial for all parties if you find out what the market wants and produce that. So you can use your AI tool to research what the market needs and produce that based on your areas of expertise, based on your experience, your trauma or transition that you've experienced. You can ask your AI tools to cross reference all of these things and extract the one thing you need to focus on that works. Okay. So that's one area. So here's an example of a prompt that you can use for something like this. You do an inventory on a separate sheet of paper or in a journal of potential ideas based on your trauma or transition. I'll use domestic violence as an example. And we'll say, for instance, you dealt with domestic violence in your first marriage. You were able to come out through divorce, and you are now married a second time. There are a couple of subjects that could be potential books out of that. You could talk about finding love, on the second chance, or you can talk about escaping domestic violence. So since you're choosing that now, and perhaps you want to approach it from certain red flags that you missed. This is your first marriage. Perhaps you married young and then you experienced domestic violence, right? In this particular example, you can type into your AI tool, I experienced this. My target reader is this. Like, let them know who you're trying to reach. Let the AI tool know the type of person you're trying to reach. You're trying to reach women perhaps before they get married, or you're trying to reach women who are in a marriage and you're showing them what to look for in their marriage as red flags. But whichever target reader you're looking for, make sure you put that in the prompt. I'm writing my book about this, and I want to reach this target audience. What are the top 10 New York Times best-selling books on this subject? And what were the common themes that made the books a bestseller? What were the common parts of their content that made the book a New York Times bestseller? You can start with just that. And that can provide you with a guide. Like, it can give you an answer. Your AI tool can give you an answer. You can then do a follow-up prompt and say, this is good. Please craft this into a book outline, or craft this into a chapter outline for me. It'll do it. It'll do that for you. Once you have an outline, now you have a roadmap to go by when you start writing or voice recording. I always tell you guys that is the cheat code. So you can have your AI tool brainstorm back and forth with you about an outline based on what the market wants. Because if you're researching what New York Times best-selling books included in common, especially the top 10, clearly New York Times best-selling books are based on, yes, their editorial decisions. It's an editorial list. However, they're paying attention to the numbers. They're paying attention to hundreds of thousands of copies sold or tens of thousands of copies sold, meaning there's a demand for those books. I say tens of thousands because that's what qualifies a book as a bestseller, period. Once you reach 5 figures, the 10,000 copies, your book is a bestseller. Whether it makes the New York Times list or not, like New York Times is the top, but you can be a best-selling author simply by selling 10,000 copies of your book. Okay, so just a little bonus nugget there. But when you hold your AI tool up to that standard, that New York Times bestseller standard, you're increasing your chances of success. You're researching the framework that these other books used to be successful and to be chosen by the New York Times editorial board. Like, what are they looking for, right? So that's an example in terms of crafting an outline based on market research, what your target readers have been buying, right? Here's another question or prompt that you can give your AI tool that relates to market research that you can use. I'm writing about this topic. This is my target reader. What are the 3 most common pain points that my target reader needs resolved? It will tell you. It'll break it down for you. Your AI tool will break that down for you. And then a follow-up question for that prompt can be like, let's craft an outline for a book based on these top 3 problems. And it can craft that. Okay. Another prompt that you can use here in terms of market research, based on this particular pain point prompt, is help me brainstorm what the transformation will be for the reader when they're done with my book. That transformation piece is going to be important based on how you market your book. It's going to go into your marketing message later down the line. Or even towards the beginning when you're maybe dripping some content to your people on social media. Hey, I'm working on a book and it's going to resolve this thing. And then you would include the promise. Okay. So very important, that transformation promise, very important prompt to make sure to include and to ask your AI tool to go back and forth with you on, okay, to brainstorm. So far we've talked about the market research for top 10 New York Times best-selling books, what their most common frameworks were, or the most common characteristics of those books in your category and genre based on your target reader. Like, what were those most common characteristics that resonated most with the reader and made the book successful? We talked about the 3 most common pain points that your target reader is facing. And then you're asking the AI tool to help you create a chapter outline that gives the reader solutions. And then following up with that to brainstorm a promise, a transformation promise. Like, what happens? What transformation does the reader have when they're done with your book? When they go from cover to cover and put it down, right? So that's the foundation step. All of this was number 1, foundation step, okay? These are different ways that you can use your AI tool to do market research for you, to craft an outline with you, like brainstorming an outline with you. And I'm going to pause here before I go to number 2, just in case you're wondering, like, yeah, you're saying rehumanize it or make sure that it sounds like me, but how do I do that? The fastest way to do that is if you're already a content creator like myself, find ways to pull down the transcripts for your episodes. If you're somebody that uses perhaps Riverside like I do, or any of the other platforms, a lot of the recording platforms actually have built-in transcription services now. You know, even if you're using Zoom, like the free version of Zoom, Zoom offers transcription. So you can be able to pull the transcript from your recording, upload that into your AI tool. So then it can scan all your words, get a feel for what your tone is, and it'll spit that out too. Like, you can say, this is a prompt. Use this as a prompt, okay? Its own separate prompt. I have attached a transcript from one of my podcast episodes. Analyze this transcript to get a feel for my voice and my tone. It'll analyze it. It'll give you a synopsis of what it believes you sound like. If there's anything in its analysis you don't agree with, type a follow-up. Like, this is close, but not exactly. And then correct it. And continue to iterate like that until its analysis matches your tone. You're like, okay, this is me. Once that's there, now that particular prompt right there, all of that information is now in its memory. And it'll remember that for any future chat. Okay? If it spits something out that you don't like, that doesn't match you, continue to correct it. Because remember, this is machine learning. So you're gonna have to iterate. Okay? Fortunately, tools like Claude and ChatGPT are pretty good about remembering the information once you put it in there. And Claude actually has a very specific section in its settings where you can put that information, like everything about you, your business, or in this case, you and your book's topic, all of that. You can put it in the settings and it'll remember that for any chat that you start. Any. Okay. So You let the AI tool know who you are. You upload a transcript of your podcast episode and it remembers you. You ask it to analyze you. You go back and forth with it. It remembers you. If you're not a content creator and this is your first go at creating a book, no worries. Do a few voice recordings on your phone or just do one. Do a voice recording on your phone and upload that. Or many of the AI tools also have a voice function right in their chat. ChatGPT has it, and if I'm not mistaken, Claude does too. So just hit the little microphone button that's in the actual chat bar and speak. Like talk into it. Say, my name is so and so. You tell it what book you're working on, what the topic and genre are, who your target reader is, what your goal is, all things. Like tell it what you feel it needs to know about you. And don't worry about being polished with it. It's fine. Even with your ums and uhs and mistakes and stutters and sentence interrupt, doesn't matter. Let it get all of that because it'll have an idea of how you speak, your cadence, all of that. The text shows up, hit enter. Now it's in its memory. You've submitted that. Like, this is me. This is my voice. I want you to now analyze all of what I just said. This is my voice. These are my goals. This is what I'm writing my book about. Analyze this and tell me what my tone is. Repeat back to me what my tone is because I want to make sure you get it. It'll analyze and give you an answer. And like I said, if it's not to your liking, push back on it. Like, nope, I need you to, I need you to update this. Like, this is not exactly me. I am this, this, and this. And continue to correct it until it is exactly you. Okay. So that's how you would upload content so that your AI tool can hear you, understand your voice. It sounds like you. Okay. So now we're going to head into this next part, which is the book blueprint pillar. Touched on it a little bit with the outline thing, the chapter outline thing. But another part that's in the book blueprint pillar is crafting your title. So here's a prompt that you can use. Very similar to one of the ones I gave you before. This is my book's topic and genre. This is my target reader. You are the senior editor for the largest publishing company in the US. Based on what you know, research the top 10 New York Times bestsellers in my topic and genre. And based on my target reader, come up with 5. You can pick another number. I'm just using 5 as an example. Give me 5 titles and subtitles that would work for my book. Your AI tool will brainstorm 5 titles and subtitles for your book that would be appropriate and have that bestseller appeal. You can go for more numbers than that if you want to. You can tell it 10. That's fine. And the beauty of giving it that many to brainstorm for you is that you can pick and choose and mix whichever ones resonate with you. Okay? But you gave it a baseline. You said New York Times bestselling books, research the top 10 New York Times bestselling books. You gave it the topic and genre, and you gave it your target reader. So it's analyzing based on those 3 things. The top 10 New York Times bestselling books in this particular topic, this particular genre for these readers. Come up with 5 or 10 titles and subtitles. If you're talking about fiction, if you're talking about nonfiction, okay? If we're talking about fiction, don't worry about that. If your book is fiction, just titles. You wouldn't have to worry about subtitles because fiction books don't do that. For nonfiction, title and subtitle. The title will be the big, like, eye-grabbing name. The subtitle of the book is where the promise goes. Okay? I'll be honest with you, I'm using this in my own book. The Pain to Prose Playbook, I'm using my AI tool to tweak the subtitle now based on my target reader, topic and genre, and top 10 New York Times best-selling titles. Okay? You want the subtitle of your book, if you're using nonfiction, to clarify what your title means and give your reader the promise, the transformation promise that your book provides. That's why that previous prompt about the transformation promise is so important. Not only do you include it in the marketing material, you include it in the subtitle as well. And with 5 or 10, you can mix and match as you see fit. Pick a title, pick a subtitle that resonates with you, and then go from there. So that's number 2 in terms of the book blueprint, using the AI prompt to craft your book's title and subtitle. I touched on another blueprint step when I mentioned the outline thing, like using your AI tool to craft a chapter outline based on those New York Times best-selling books and what they covered, the way they solved the pain points. Okay. Now, here's number 3. Using your AI tool to help you edit. I'm not talking about Grammarly. That's a tool you can use if you wish. Nor am I saying that you can use an AI tool as a substitute for an editor. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You still need to hire an editor, or at the absolute least, a proofreader. You're going to need a pair of human eyes to look over your stuff, because there are certain things that the AI can't catch. There are certain metaphors or similes or turns of phrase that another human would recognize, but the machine cannot. So you're going to want a pair of human eyes on your book, regardless. But here's the way you can use AI to edit, or at the very least, review your book. You can give it the context. You're a senior editor of, a large publishing company in the US, or the largest. Here is my manuscript. What do you feel it's missing? Or what do you feel it needs to be considered New York Times bestseller? What do you feel it needs to become a New York Times bestseller? What would I need to include for you to approve this for publication? It'll tell you. Now, previously, I used to warn people not to upload their whole manuscript into an AI tool because there's a risk there, especially if you're using the free version of an AI tool. I wouldn't recommend you upload your whole manuscript for a free AI tool because you may not have as much protection. With the paid AI tools, you can go to the settings and tell it not to use any of your material to improve the experience. ChatGPT is an example of this. There's a setting in the data part that says improve our models. It's a switch that you can turn on or off. And I recommend everybody turn that switch off, because basically improving the model means we get to skim your stuff and put it out and make it available to the internet as a whole to improve all of ChatGPT. Turn that off. If you're using Claude and there's a setting in there, turn that off. Whatever AI tool you're using, go into the settings, explore the settings. And if you see any kind of verbiage like that, disable it or turn it off. That way, whatever you feed your AI tool is between you and the AI tool. Yes, it's in the cloud, but it's your stuff. They're not volunteering it to the rest of the world. That's the difference. So for something like this, you would upload your manuscript, give it that prompt that I just said, ask it that question, and then it'll analyze your manuscript. It'll analyze your rough draft and say, this part is good. This part needs some tweaking. Here's what's missing. Here's what works. Okay. You can then take that analysis, go back to your rough draft and make those tweaks accordingly, and then upload the next version, give it the same prompt, and keep doing that until your AI tool says, okay, this is New York Times bestseller ready. I would say yes to this. Now, between ChatGPT and Claude, I will say Claude is the better tool for this, only because Claude has long been the favored tool for long written material, for long content. ChatGPT blew up, but even in the earliest days of consumer available AI models, Claude was always the best one for long form written content, blog posts, articles, books. Claude was always the preferred AI tool for that. And Claude is a bit more detail oriented, I will say. ChatGPT, you can train to be as objective as possible. There are certain prompts you can use to get rid of the yes man or hype man responses it tends to give sometimes. So Claude is the better thing to be using for this. That's just my personal recommendation though. Like, feel free to do your own research. But that's how you can use an AI tool to analyze your manuscript. Like, you can use it for that. In terms of cleaning up the grammar, you still gonna need a human being. You're still gonna need a human being. So use websites like Fiverr.com or Upwork.com or any of those platforms, and find an editor or a proofreader that suits your price point, that suits your budget. Okay. But still get a human being. Still get a pair of eyes on your book. Hope this episode was beneficial for you. And if it was, be sure to share it with your peoples. And of course, hit like on the episode so that the algorithm can see it and spread it, get it out to even more people. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, hit that button, hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to get all notifications. That way you're getting notifications for the episodes, for all of my posts, any polls that I put out there, everything. Okay. If you're an audiophile, you can find the Getting the Win show on Spotify. And of course, you can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win show. You can also find me on LinkedIn. So if you wish to hire me to speak, or if you wish to hire me for coaching, if you want to get your book out, but perhaps the author activation weekend, maybe that author intensive is a little too much for you, by all means, you can find me on LinkedIn at Melissa Thomas. Shoot me a DM. Let's talk. Reminder again about the author activation weekend. Go to myauthorweekend.com if you're finally ready to complete your rough draft. It's not enough to go through the trauma or transition if you feel a yearning within you that you need to get this message out into the world. Or if enough people have told you you need to get this book out into the world. Going through the trauma or transition, going through that process was step one. Let's complete it by getting your rough draft completed. And then further, we'll get you to publication. Okay? So go to myauthorweekend.com if you feel that is a fit for you. Now, stay tuned for next week's episode where I finish this out. This was only part one, remember? So part two is coming up next week. So be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get that notification for next week's episode. In the meantime and between time, have a great and productive rest of your Wednesday and a great and productive rest of your week. Peace.